Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am yours truly, the one and only, the brightest of the bunch, Brother Ricky. I'm happy to be with you all here this morning on P Stars Radio. How you guys doing so far? Don't know exactly sure if this is working properly, but how you guys doing so far? I'm happy to be here with you all on P Stars Radio again. I wasn't here on Tuesday. Last Tuesday I wasn't here. I was supposed to be here, but I wasn't due to some family stuff that I had to take care of. But yeah, so I missed Tuesday, and I just wanted to apologize for that. But I'm here, and again, I'm happy to be here with you guys as per usual. Time is now 10:45 a.m. Now I am a bit behind with the time, so please excuse me with that. But I am behind with the time. I would normally start at 10:30 for my shows, but better late than never. Better late than never. But yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, I would like to let you all know that I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I'm alive and I'm breathing, and I hope and pray that you all had a good week, a wonderful week. Weekend could have been hectic. We're just starting the weekend now, but the week could have been hectic for some people with work, school, just life in general, right? But we are here nonetheless. We are here nonetheless, all right? So, I want to hop into this show ASAP, and I want to start off by saying this, ladies and gentlemen, the NFL is officially back. Yup, the NFL is officially back. We just start off with kickoff, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, the kickoff started on Thursday. Now, I will need you all to excuse me. I would need to ask all of you to excuse me because I had this completely mixed up. Because before I kept bringing up that the regular season of the NFL was supposed to start on October. That's what I thought. For whatever reason, I was completely off the mark, way off the mark. I took it like it was the NBA in terms of the start of the season for the NFL, but I was completely wrong. I was completely off the mark because the start of the NFL season was on Thursday. That was kickoff, and it was with the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, who started off the regular season, or the first week of the regular season of the NFL. So forgive me. I was completely wrong. I was completely off the mark. But it was this month that the NFL, the regular season of the NFL, was scheduled to start. Next month is going to be for the NBA. So the NBA will be starting off with its regular season next month, while the NFL's regular season starts this month, right? Which again was Thursday that just passed. So my bad. I was off the mark with that, but again, the regular season of the NFL started on Thursday with the kickoff between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm happy we're back, man. I'm definitely happy that we are back, the NFL season, where we get to see all these big these teams and these big players that are playing perform, to see who's going to be able to run it back, right? To run it back all over again. For this year's NFL, all the way until we reach the Super Bowl. All right. So again, the game between the Cowboys and the Eagles started on Thursday, with the Philadelphia Eagles coming out on top, defeating the Cowboys with 24-20. Now that game I just watched, and listen, it was exciting for me. It was exciting for me because you got to see some of the OG players from the Eagles that were our defending champs for the NFL Super Bowl last year compete right, compete for the start of the regular season. You got Jalen Hurts doing his thing, bringing in a touchdown for the Eagles, and Saquon Barkley also doing his thing on the field. These guys were delivering, and these guys did not disappoint. So that was good to see. That was definitely good to see with that. And then yesterday we had our second match of the regular season of the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Chargers. Now, that match ended with the Chargers coming out on top with 27 and the Chiefs coming out on top with 21. So both teams, not both teams, but both the Eagles and the Chiefs had their chance to start off this year's regular season of the NFL, right? Because if you all don't remember with the Super Bowl for the beginning of the year, which was on February, the two teams that went up against each other were the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. And so now these two teams had their respective matches in the start of the regular season, which was, again, yesterday and Thursday. So I don't know about you guys, all right? I don't know about you guys, but I, for one, am ready and excited to see exactly what the teams are going to, what each respective team are going to do in terms of competition to reach their way all the way back to the Super Bowl of the NFL, all right? So that is what it's looking like for the NFL so far. We have the WNBA. The WNBA has their playoff brackets set, right? So the playoff brackets for the WNBA is set. I did bring up our last meetup on Saturday with I believe the Las Vegas Aces and the Minnesota Lynx both securing their spot for this year's WNBA playoff series, right? Now, it seems to be the case that all teams are set, all brackets are set, and the WNBA playoffs is about to go underway pretty soon. So right now it looks like we have does it look like eight teams in total? That is correct. 8 teams in total that are set to host this year's WNBA playoffs, and I will get into that right now. So it looks like the Minnesota Lynx will be facing off the Indiana Fever. The number 1 seed, Minnesota Lynx, will be going up against the number 8 seed, Indiana Fever. And then we have the Phoenix Mercury, who will be facing off against the New York Liberty. And then we have the Las Vegas Aces, who will be facing off against the Seattle Storm. And then finally, we have the Atlanta Dream, who will be going up against the Golden State Valkyries. Okay? So these are your matchups for the WNBA. Again, these are the only matchups. 8 teams in total. Oh, wait, sorry. Los Angeles Sparks. Yeah. So 8 teams in total for the WNBA playoffs. So I believe last year, if I'm not mistaken, last year's champions for the WNBA finals, I think the New York Liberty. The New York Liberty was last year's WNBA finals champions, and now it seems to be the case that the New York Liberty is trying to make a comeback again, another comeback to win this year's WNBA finals. But if I'm gonna be very honest with you, I'm gonna put in my early predictions right now. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put in my early predictions right now in terms of who I think is going to be this year's WNBA finals champions. Okay, and it's going to be between these 2 teams. The teams that I predict that may be the winner of this year's WNBA finals is going to be between the Minnesota Lynx and the Las Vegas Aces. Again, so these two teams, the Minnesota Lynx and the Las Vegas Aces, are one of the two teams who I suspect are going to be this year's WNBA Finals champions. Now, I spoke about these two teams before, again, on our last meetup, which was last Saturday, and it's in terms of the players that they have. So the Minnesota Lynx has their top player, Napheesa Collier, right, who is, again, nothing short of a hooper, a baller, in my opinion, of course. Other people might think differently, but that's my opinion. But that's who I think is going to be going all out for this year's WNBA playoffs. And then for the Las Vegas Aces, it's A'ja Wilson. Now, a lot of people might know A'ja Wilson, but again, this player, nothing short of a hooper and a baller. Last year won the WNBA MVP award, right? She won that last year, and she was able to compete in last year's Olympic gold medal, right? To help the women's basketball team for a USA win, right? So A'ja Wilson, baller. Napheesa Collier, baller. I think these two teams are going to be facing each other. I might be wrong here. These are my predictions. My predictions could be way off. But again, this is the prediction that I'm putting in, right? I mean, I'm sure you got some really good players on the other teams as well, right? You got the Indiana Fever, who has Caitlin Clark. You have New York Liberty, who have Sabrina Ionescu, right? You have all these other teams and all these other players that are also very talented in their own right. But for me personally, I'm just going to stick with the Minnesota Lynx and the Las Vegas Aces, who will be meeting up or who I suspect will be meeting up for this year's WNBA playoffs. But that's just me. You guys might think differently. But hey, feel free, right? Feel free to let me know down. Well, I'm going live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. So let me know your opinions. Let me know your thoughts. Who you think might take it all the way in this year's WNBA playoffs and finals. But I'm gonna stick with what I stick with. It's gonna be between the Minnesota Lynx and the Las Vegas Aces. But that is just me. All right. For the U.S. Tennis Open Run, we have Naomi Osaka, who I believe has just been if I didn't bring up Naomi Osaka before, she's also another talented tennis player, because I would normally speak about players like Venus Williams, right, or Serena Williams, the two sisters, right, the twin sisters, right, who are very, very talented when it comes to tennis. But then I don't know why I could forget, or how I could forget certain players like Naomi Osaka, who was also another very great tennis player as well in the game of tennis. But it seems to be the case now that she has been defeated in the semifinals of the 2025 U.S. Open Run for tennis. Let me see here. So her competition was the number 8 seed Amanda Anisimova. Allow me to repeat the name again. The number 8 seed Amanda Anisimova was her matchup for the semifinals of the U.S. Tennis Open Run. And it seems to be that she has received, or she has been defeated by this particular player. The scores for that matchup was 6-7, 7-6, and 6-3, which was for the semifinals, concluding scores between Naomi Osaka and Amanda Anisimova. So Osaka, like I brought up before, very talented player, but I don't think something like this is ever going to stop her from continuing to compete and to reach the accolades, or to reach her full potential that she may desire to reach herself. Because Again, I think players like her, she seems to be very young, a very young player, right? And there's a whole lot of young players that are competing in this U.S. Tennis Open run. I think players that range from like what, as young as maybe like 18, right? Maybe 18, 19, that are playing in these very, very, how can I say, very, what's the word? We're sitting in the tip of my professional. I don't know why I kept struggling to find that word, but young players playing in these very professional sports at that age, yeah, they definitely have a lot in the tank, no doubt about that. So for players like Naomi Osaka, I'm not stressed out about this defeat, especially for her. So, but nonetheless, congratulations to Amanda Anisimova, who has defeated Naomi Osaka, and it seems to be that they're, getting closer and closer to the finals of the series with the U.S. Tennis Open run, and I'm only so much as curious to see who in the women's side and the men's side are going to reach the finals and take it all, right? To take it all this year for the U.S. Tennis Open run, but so far it seems to be the case that Naomi will be making her exit from the semifinals. And, I was really, in my opinion, I was really expecting to see players like, again, Venus Williams, because that's really the only player or one of the few players that I am fully familiar with, right? That those are one of the players, Venus Williams or Serena Williams, that I'm familiar with, who are one of the big prominent names in the sport of tennis that I would have expected to see go all the way to the finals, right? But again, that's not the case, because there are a whole lot more talented players in the game of tennis who are competing in this year's U.S. Tennis Open run that are also fighting for that top spot, or to make it all the way to the finals and win themselves a trophy. So if any of you are not aware with these matchups, I would advise you to stay tuned into them, because I for sure am going to do that myself to see who comes out on top and come out with the latest news as to who will be our champions for both the men's and the women's for the U.S. Tennis Open run, all right? So that's what it's looking like for that. I'll dive into our matchups for the NFL. The NFL season isn't going to, well, not the season. The NFL season, again, is already underway, and so we have our matchups for tomorrow. It looks like almost a full game slate for the NFL tomorrow. So we have the Dolphins, who will be taking on the Colts. The Miami Dolphins going up against the Colts. Then we have the Steelers, who will be facing off against the Jets. We have the Panthers going up against the Jaguars. Excuse me. We have the Cardinals, who will be facing off against the Saints. We have the Giants, who will be facing off the Commanders. The Buccaneers, who will be going up against the Falcons. Who else? We have the Bengals facing off against the Cleveland Browns. We have the Las Vegas Raiders, who will be going up against the Patriots. We have the 49ers, who will be going up against the Seahawks. Titans, who will be facing off against the Broncos. The Detroit Lions, who will be going up against the Green Bay Packers. Texans, who will be going up against the Rams. And then finally, the Baltimore Ravens, who will be going up against the Buffalo Bills. Again, a full game slate tomorrow for the NFL. And then for today, for the WNBA, we have the Phoenix Mercuries. Again, the Phoenix Mercury, who will be going up against the Connecticut. Apologies. Yes, the Phoenix Mercury, who will be going up against the Connecticut Suns. So the Phoenix Mercury will be facing off the Suns today at 1 p.m. this afternoon. And then finally, we have the Minnesota Lynx, who will be going up against the Golden State Valkyries. All right? So these are your matchups for the WNBA today. And then finally, I will be going into the verse of the day. The verse of the day, which will be in Psalms chapter 23, verses 1 through the end. Again, the verse will be coming from Psalms chapter 23, verses 1 through the end. Nous allons lire verset dans Psalm 23, verset 1er, jusqu'à la fin. Encore verset sorti dans Psalm 23, verset 1er, jusqu'à la fin. I will begin reading. And it reads, The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. So, again, the verse comes from Psalm chapter 23, and this is a Psalm of David. With this verse, what I want you to hold with this verse is that understand who's leading you, understand the kind of God that is leading you in your life, understand that while going through this life, you're going to be going through a lot of challenges, chaos, stress. You're going to be going through a lot that's going to be causing you to be pulled into this world. But in the midst of all this, understand that you do have somebody who is leading your life. And this person that is leading your life, that goes by the name Jesus, he's the one that is in control. And so if you understand and know that Jesus is the one that's leading your life, and you leave all of the control in his hand, if you leave all of the directions in his hand, the plans in his hand, if you leave everything in his hand, then you won't have to fear, and you won't have to be afraid, and you won't have to be worried, because we as people, we tend to worry about the future. I know I do a lot. I tend to worry about the future a whole lot. I tend to, have doubts. I tend to, have bad habits, right? I tend to make mistakes. But if, as followers of Christ, if as Christians, we can learn to, depend on God, right? Depend on him fully, completely, right? If we continue to leave our trust in him, even despite seeing all the chaos that is erupting in this world, even despite seeing the challenges and all of the things that are distractions that take our attentions away from God, even seeing those things, if we continue to leave our faith in him, right? If we continue to leave our trust in God, then we won't have to worry about anything else. Why? Because God is the one that is in control. Jesus is the one that is in control. And when he is the one that is in control, then we won't have to worry about anything, because he knows the plans for our lives. He wants what's good for us, and he wants us to be in peace. He wants us to be happy, and that's the thing that he does. Why does he do these things? Because of his love for us. Simply because of his love for us. That is it. When we have a God like this that we serve, a God who loves us, or a God who cares for us, and a God who has everything under his control, then we will never have to worry about anything in life. Nothing. Because we have a God that we can trust. A God that loves us even when we forget to love ourselves. All right? So, again, the verse comes from Psalms chapter 23, Again, Psalms 23, verses 1 through the end. All right? So that's that for our show, or my show. I will meet you all back here on Tuesday around 12:30, and next Saturday again around 10:30 for, for those of you who don't know, 10:30 on Saturday for exactly what I'm doing now, just talking all about sports. And then Tuesdays, where I just talk about random subjects, could be related to life, school, relationships, so on and so forth, all right? I love you guys, and I will see you all next time. Bye.